We're in the studio with Tim Dalton, and one of the things I want to run past you, Tim, is you've worked in the higher education sector in both music and creative arts. And you've done it not only in Europe, you've done it in the United Kingdom, and of course now in Australia. But before we took the break, I was saying to you that how do we go forward? How do we get our music scene to be much healthier and to really start to be progressive when we've got so many challenges that face them, and one of them being the number of venues that want to support them, because the industry's changed tremendously.
Yeah, one of the things that keeps cropping up in Melbourne is we keep mentioning the fact that we've more music venues per capita than anywhere else. Now this could be a blessing in disguise.
Right.
You know, it's a very quantitative approach, just by going, look at the number of venues we've got. If we start breaking that down, maybe looking at some other metrics we could measure success by, you know, the metrics of success, and that is 87% of musicians in this city can't earn the minimum wage. They don't have any health insurance. They don't own any property. They live in substandard housing. Surely that's not indicative of a healthy, you know, that doesn't take the temperature of the local music scene very well. A lot of people,
but it's much more accurate.
It's more accurate, you know. People who kind of look after the industry here, who oversee it, are sometimes afraid to face up to those criticisms and go, yeah, that's maybe something we should address. One thing we don't have here is a roadmap. What does success look like? And if we don't know what it looks like, how do we know if we've achieved it? And I've always been a big believer in business that you go, this is where we are now. That's where we want to be. This is what happens to get us to that place that we want to be. And when we get there, we know we've got there because we stated very clearly at the outcome that's where we want to be. And we seem to be very ephemeral in terms of Melbourne and Australia in a whole of, yeah, the music industry, we're doing really well. Who says? Yeah. How? Where are the metrics? Where are your milestones? Where are your key performance indicators? How do we know when we've got there? What does success look like? And when we've achieved that success, where do we go next? So I think maybe putting some hard things in place, like until we've got, more musicians earning the minimum wage, or more musicians living a better lifestyle, or a more industry that is maybe put into a quarter somewhere like the Americans do, where we put the creative industries and we get this critical mass, because it is an ecosystem that all rely on each other. Yeah. At the moment, because of the size and the tyranny of geography of this country, the diaspora of the music industry, it's spread very, 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 very thin. And there's small hotspots. Now, in Europe and America, we overcome that. You know, in Liverpool, it was easy. We're an hour's flight from John Lennon Airport to Paris, Rome, you know, with 6 months.
It's just hours away.
It's just hours away. You can be in New York in 5.5 hours from Manchester Airport, you know, so it's very easy to do. So I think the other thing that's desperately needed is higher quality management, and people that come at this from a management perspective.
Been there, done that. We're not talking about promoters, are we?
No,
because they're a bit, few of them around anymore. We had some big names in the past.
Yeah.
We had the Dainties, we've had all manner, the Gadinskis,
Dainty, Michael Chugg.
Yeah, but Michael Chugg, but they seem to be yesterday's people, and I don't want to cast them aside, because they've played a tremendous role to where we've got to. But are they part of the problem as well?
Probably not part of the problem. Not part of the problem. I know Gudinski would love to talk about that. That's one of the things he loves to talk about. One of the things we've seen is what's called the colonisation of our leisure space. So at one point it was full of fairly small boutique entrepreneurs. I mean that in a lovely way. Now what's happened is we've got the onset of what we call like McDonald's culture. So we're seeing companies like Live Nation, who are the biggest ticket sellers on the planet, Ticketek, all these types of companies, and they want global. They don't want to be doing local bands. They want to take one product and sell it universally across all territories. Your Chuggies, your Gudinskis, your Dainties and all those, quite often were quite located with the different cities. Gudinski would do here, Chuggy would do there, you know, and they would grow little bands to fill dance halls and do that. Live Nation out of New York aren't interested in that. They want to take a single star and put them on their TV channel, their radio channel, and put them into all of the venues that they own throughout the world, and just keep it all the same. It's the onset of monoculture.
Do shows like The Voice or Idol almost do it a bit back to front? They showcase the talent and then they say to you, oh, they're going to be performing or their music's available through this particular channel.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only stars of those shows are the people that present it, not the people that appear in it. So the music becomes commodified. The music is just a product. Now, to me, that's the wrong way around. The most important thing in this equation should be the music. And to go and see bands and go and see music. And I know I'm a businessman and I know I make quite good money out of doing this and have done for a number of years. But surely there must be a way where you can do kind of triple bottom line accounting where you care about the planet, you care about people, and you care about profits.
I went to the Global concert in New York, Central Park last year.
Yeah.
And we saw young Lambert at the front of Queen.
Yes, yeah.
And he blew the show open.
Yeah.
Pharrell was there. They had a marvellous cast. And they had some great oldies who not only carried themselves beautifully, but they held their own against some of the young bucks too, which was super exciting. But it made for a great television event. It also made for a great live event. And again, I was reminded of how this young boy who came from American Idol had earned his stripes and put in those 10,000 hours.
Yes, he did.
To finally stand up and almost embody Freddie Mercury at his best.
Yeah.
Which is quite something because one of the greatest frontmen of
the planet
of any time.
Yeah. And again, fantastic management behind there as well with Jim Beach, who managed that project from start to finish. And Jim Beach was a brilliant lawyer, went to Oxford or Cambridge, I can't remember which one, fantastic academic mind, but he understood how to manage creativity. Just a point there, Brian May, the guitarist in that band, used to be my boss at Liverpool John Moores University. He was our vice-chancellor. He did his PhD at the university in astrophysics. Wow. And at his investiture, because I was the head of the music department, I got introduced to him and I shook his hand and said, "Congratulations, Professor May." And he said to me, "What do you do?" And I said, "I run the music department." And he looked at me and went, "Oh, do we have a music department?" No joke. That's how unimportant we were in the university structure.
Wow.
And John Moores, the university I used to work at in Liverpool, they've now closed that music degree and got out of it.
So again, May was right. They didn't think too much of it at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we wrap things up, because it's been a fantastic opportunity to pick your brain, to get a sense of what the journey has been for you. I get a sense that you're just coming into that lovely cruise zone and there's a bit of fire in you that wants to put the accelerator on again. I think you have some more things you want to do. So what sort of messaging should we be directing now to those people who care about the music business in this country? And how do we push, nudge and elbow our way, as the Peloton can do, to get to the front? What do we need to do?
I think people need to think globally. They need to start thinking, do you want to be in the music community or do you want to be a music industry professional? Because the two are kind of mutually exclusive. You can't do both. If you're going to move into that business side, well, you need to be a business and get into the business, think internationally. Selling music locally isn't going to work. Streaming music.
The market's way too small.
It's way too small. And if you want to, make the minimum wage, you've got to be selling like 4 million streams. It's not like the old days where you could sell a few 100,000 CDs. So I think you need to think about all your different revenue streams. And a lot of the stuff I'm talking doesn't go down very well when you go to meet music business people. It's not wrong to talk about making money. If we're in the business, we are in the business of making money through music. That's why we call it music business. If you're embarrassed by that, don't get involved. Become part of the music community and just make cool art. No one's probably going to see you or take much notice, but at least you're making your art. So I'd like to see this new strain of people that are focused on moving forward, being international, thinking with a global brain, and thinking multiple income strands to improve the lot of the whole music community. A rising tide floats all the boats. So that's what I'm about. I'm not about individuality. And yes, I am moving towards retirement age, but I still think I want to make a statement and still think I want to prove something. You know, I think my track record's great, but I would love to add a couple more things to that track record before I plop off.
Now, if you were Tim Dalton, the actor, yeah, you can only play James Bond that many times, and there's a built-in end game, yeah? There's a use-by date.
Yeah.
The Tim Dalton I see before me, I don't see a retirement in him. I can see him doing 1,000 things. Because that brain of yours is way too active, and that fire that runs that engine when it's riding the bike has got plenty of energy and mileage left. I believe, and we've talked about it a number of times now with a number of people on The Informer, if you want to change how people think, yeah, or change things, you've got to change the way they think. You've got to move the conversation.
Yeah.
And yes, you're right. Sometimes it's got to be uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Because people, we are what we are. We're hardwired. We don't like change. So what you're saying is we've got to change the thinking.
Yeah.
We've got to change the aspirational component, and you've got to fire up.
Yeah, and there's 5 components in any organisation or government that...
And they are?
That benefit. Well, the first one of those is fear of accountability. So don't fear accountability. If you say you're going to do something and it goes wrong, and it was your fault, you have to put your hand up and go, I'm sorry. The same way accountability, if it goes
Premier
right.
should be listening, I hope. Okay,
Yes, I hope he is listening,
yeah.
yes.
Daniel Andrews, Tim Dalton's just told you.
If you need a hand, just call me, Dan. I'm on the phone, you can find my number. The other one is fear of conflict. Everyone shies away from conflict. I come from a punk rock background. Conflict's great, as long as it's not personal and it's not physical. Yeah. Conflict is a way of clearing the air, of scything down the weeds.
And adds to the creativity.
And add to the creativity. Do not fear that. Accountability. What are you accountable for? Yeah, there's a few things, but they're kind of my top ones.
If you're the sound guy at the front of the house, and you got to make sure that sounds great.
Yeah.
You've got to be really accountable.
Oh, absolutely.
Otherwise, your job, as you found out the door.
Yeah, I know when I'm doing a great job when I used to mix sound, and I still go out and mix sound occasionally for friends because it's something I really love.
Ears still good?
Oh, pardon? Sorry? Yes, I think so. But I know when I've done a great job out front because no one knows I've done it. Everybody stares at that band, even if he or she's the worst singer on the planet, but I've made them sound really good. No one goes, Tim Dalton made them sound good. They always go, that artist was amazing. They all walk away singing about how good that artist was.
Well, that's the magic.
If I go slightly wrong, everyone turns around, starts looking at the artist and goes, the artist is great, sack the sound guy, because he doesn't know what he's doing. So that's kind of a metaphor almost of how we should be operating. Everything should be geared up to make the artist the most creative, artistic people they can possibly be. I mean, I get lots of criticism for Atomic Kitten. People say to me, oh, you made all those amazing bands. What on earth were you doing with Atomic Kitten? And I'm like, well, that was just another project of can we take a songwriter who works from home and present his material? No one wants to see this grey-haired old guy who writes all this great cool material, so we get 3 girls to present it. We'll wrap it up in a nice package and boom, you know, we sold 6 million albums in the first year.
Real struggle.
Yes.
Well done. Tim Dalton, thank you for joining us on The Informer.
Thank you for having me.
Please come back because I think there is an opportunity to regale us with some great stories. And we haven't even touched some of the other bands and the people that you've worked with over the years. Can I just say congratulations on the last 38?
Thank you.
Let's
to the next 38.
Let's look forward to the next few.
Thank you. Thank you so much, George.
Thanks, mate.